Hey everyone, Draco Prime 220 here. I want to bring this to some people's attention if you're curious. This could have had a lot of potential and could have led into something. Everything I'm about to say right now, I found out through some leaks on Discord. Don't know if they're all legit. One of them I knew way back, but take everything I say with a grain of salt, and these are also like a bunch of theories and what-ifs. So, everything I'm telling you is just a mixture of all I just said. I want to talk about first about toys, and sometimes how they can kind of reveal things that happen in a show or a film. I'm going to give you a very good example. There is a YouTuber called Gaming Beaver, big Jurassic Park fan. He said in one of his videos that he saw, I think he either got or saw the Lego set that revealed the demise, the ending basically, of the Indoraptor for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It was basically a Lego set of the top of the building, and you hit something and it'll switch, it opens up to reveal that the Indoraptor falls and gets impaled on the Triceratops skull. Well, he said that Universal got a hold of him and said, take your video down. That technically is what happened. That's actually what happened in the movie. The Indoraptor attacks and blew and hit, and the Indoraptor crashing through the glass, and the Indoraptor ends up getting impaled. Now, some toys, now you can't fully rely on toys or Lego sets because sometimes they're just made to extend for purchase for kids. And for example, Transformers, another good example. Some of the characters that you see are in the movie, and some are just made, to sell toys. Like, for example, Transformers Rise of the Beasts. There was a crocodile Predacon made, and he never appears in the movie. Never. I think his name was Skullcruncher, I believe. And he never appears in the film. Sometimes you can go by what the covers say, or even the back, the description. And one of the toys that I saw when Gen 5 first started, ironically, was a Sunny plush, of an Alicorn Sunny plush. And it reveals that Sunny, at this point, is the last Alicorn. Now, before you say that it could have been generated mistake, maybe not. Because let's keep in mind, there were scripts made for Season 2. Okay? Now here's the big thing. It involves, the description was Sunny protecting Equestria from who? King Sombra. Now, King Sombra, he didn't really do much for me. Like, in his first episode, he was just like growling and stuff, going, "My crystal slaves." And then one weird moment where as he's changing back to a solid form, he sees the crystal heart and spike and he licks his lips. I'm like, okay, that's a little creepy, but whatever. And then he's gone. He appears briefly in a alternate timeline in Season's 5 finale. And then he makes his big return for the two-parter in Season 9. And I'm going to say what Lost narrator said. He went from saying nothing to not shutting the fuck up. I'm sorry. When Lost said that, I just rolled on the floor laughing. I'm sorry. She put it perfectly when Sombra talked, and I did not like his voice. It went from like, I'm like, is he having a voice problem? He might want to get his throat checked out. I don't know. I'm not blaming the actor. I'm blaming the direction he was told to go. And, Sombra didn't really do much for me. And once again, where the actual show kind of made him underwhelming and made him not really a good villain, the audio dramas make him more of a villain and better of a character as an antagonist than the show ever did. And that's saying something. How come it's the audio dramas and those content creators that can make the villains more better than the actual show, or give characters attention that never got really acknowledged again, whether they were brief cameos or in the comics. It's kind of sad, you know. I don't know, but like for example, there's Life's a Breeze. That's another audio drama where it's not evil Sombra, it's reflection Sombra, where he's a good guy. Amor Cristallo. That version of Sombra makes me very uneasy. I'm actually excited for episode 3 whenever that does decide to come out, whenever it's done. And the other one, I'm not going to spoil it, but in Friendship is Tragic Tale of Two Princesses, Sombra, a narrator voiced him. Now that's a voice I can picture for Sombra. Deep, kind of has that dark charm, menacing, evil, and he does something. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it, don't worry. Because to be honest, I don't need someone saying don't spoil it in the comments section. All I'm going to do is, remember the movie Aladdin when Genie, his jaw drops next to Jafar? That was me. So, if you ever decide to watch it, you'll see what I mean. Yeah, Sombra's been done way more better in the audio dramas than the show. I'm not going to really say anything about The Demon's Daughter. He does show up in that, but I'm not going to go into any detail because I know Elusive Owl at some point is going to go and do a reaction to that series, and I want to see his reaction for himself when he sees Sombra. Now, here's one thing I did learn that was true, and it was through someone on the G5 leaks and stuff, that originally the Crystal Empire was meant to show up in future Make Your Mark seasons. Now, this is making my brain wonder a bit. Was the Sombra thing all just not real? But yet, the Crystal Empire was meant to show up in My Little Pony Make Your Mark Gen 5 at some point. And now, and also, the writer says there's a bunch of scripts that were made and done and sent for season 2. I'm guessing another batch of chapters. One of those chapters could have been about the Crystal Empire. Or could they have done something similar like how they did with New Generation? They make a movie, then make a show. Because if you ask me, they could have actually done that. They could have actually made a movie, like, I don't know, My Little Pony Journey to the Crystal Empire? I don't know. They could have done that. I think they could have. You know, they could have done something like that. Make a movie, like, and then leads into a show similar to how New Generation went into Make Your Mark, then Tell Your Tale. And we don't know the contents of these Season 2 scripts. We don't know. Now, my thoughts are, since the Crystal Empire was kind of confirmed to make a comeback in future Make Your Mark shows before Make Your Mark got the axe, once again, thanks Hasbro. Really quick, I'm getting kind of more disappointed with Hasbro because they're starting to rely more on AI, and I'm just like, why? You know, really quick, I'm going to just say something really fast that's not My Little Pony related. I am also a big Transformers fan, okay? I like Optimus Prime and Megatron. Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, you think of them, yeah, they've had a lot of other voices. Frank Welker's had a ton of voice acting work in his career. But that's why do you have to use AI? There are people that can do impressions of Peter Cullen's Optimus Prime and Frank Welker's Megatron. Like, for example, there's an upcoming Transformers fan project called The Last Spark. And let me tell you something, the two voice actors who are doing the voice work for Optimus Prime and Megatron, they sound very close to Peter Cullen and Frank Welker's Optimus Prime and Megatron voices. Why can't you hire them? What, you afraid to throw out a check and say, hey, can you do some voice work for a Transformers movie? Or project or something? I'm sorry, I do not agree with this. I do know Peter Quill and Frank Welker agreed to it. I get it. You know, I'm not trying to criticize them. I'm not, because I have no right to. I don't have no right to judge. That is their choice. But seriously, Hasbro, you can't just get like actual people who can do actually good impressions and hire them to take over the mantle of Optimus and Megatron. I don't know. That's just me. That's just me. But anyway, think about it. One, we got these unmade script, these scripts for Make Your Mark that were written and done and sent. Then it was confirmed through some leaks on Discord. Once again, it seems that it was very well confirmed that the Crystal Empire was going to show up at some point. And, but like, before I go any further, just please take this with a grain of salt. I'm only telling you what I've heard. But I do know about the plushie. I knew that, like, that came out like shortly before the Make Your Mark special and after New Generation, I believe. And I was actually kind of interested to see that was Sombra coming back? But I thought he got disintegrated. I don't know. But, we could have had something. They could have actually made that into a movie. With, you know, the New Generation style of animation, had Sunny and her friends. Maybe they get a distress call from the Crystal Empire now that magic is back. The Crystal Empire, maybe the Crystal Empire did not vanish like it did last time, but they could have had it where it just hid itself from Opaline, because Opaline was, after all, magic, and showing that how much trouble she was, that she was causing trouble all the way to the Crystal Empire. And then, of course, by some means, Sombra shows back up. And this could have been a good chance to make Sombra actually a threat. Make him not dangerous on a physical level, but vocally. Actually give him a voice that sounds scary. And since for a movie, even a Netflix film, they get like some good, like, they got a lot of good voice actors for the movie. You could have kept the original Make Your Mark cast, just used a New Generation style of animation, and also and now once again, if I had to go with someone who could really give Sombra a menacing kind of Shakespearean voice, a more philosophical voice, is Scar himself, Jeremy Irons. Now, if Jeremy Irons was not willing to do it, my second option would be Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson is no stranger to playing intimidating characters or voice work. So either, you know, Jeremy Irons or Liam Neeson. If those two could not do it, there is one voice actor who has had a huge career. He's actually currently the voice of Tigger and Winnie the Pooh. His name is Jim Cummings. He actually has done Winnie the Pooh and Tigger for a long time now. And he's also done Darkwing Duck and Pete from both the cartoons and movies and the Kingdom Hearts series. So he would be like my third choice if they did that. Think about it. We could have gotten a movie like I said, My Little Pony, Journey to the Crystal Empire. And maybe Sunny meets a more grown-up Flurry Heart and Cadence. And here's where things could get kind of emotional. Sombra's going to try and reclaim what is his. Because think about it. The ponies are just getting their magic back. They're still learning. And he knows Twilight Sparkle and her friends are not around. I'll get to Twilight here in a minute. But maybe Flurry Heart and Cadence, maybe the whole Crystal Empire was in a state of dormancy. And when magic came back, they just woke up. And Sombra could see this as golden opportunity to, instead of doing it by himself, maybe he gets the army of the Umbrums. Maybe that could, like a little callback to the comic with the Umbrums. You know, I don't think they would make him look like the way they did in the comic. Very scary. Ugh. You want nightmare fuel? Look at the Umbrums in the comic Siege of the Crystal Empire. Oh god, they're terrifying. I could see where Scribbler got some inspiration for some of her creations. Yeah, I think what they would look like is more like smaller versions of the Pony of Shadows, because can think about it, we got kids watching this, but I think they would make them a little scary, but not to the extent they were in the comics. And also we gotta keep in mind that probably at this point in time, Shining Armor has passed. And I think this could lead into maybe Sunny and Flurry Heart bonding, over a father that passed away. And they're just trying to keep his legacy alive and do right by him and do what he would do. And maybe they reminisce about Twilight, and maybe Sunny asks, where is Twilight? Now, and one thing also, this could lead into Sombra leading the army of the Umbrum to attack the Crystal Empire to finally take back what believes is his. Now, we all know Sombra can play with the mind. He can use fear to mess up. He's kind of like Scarecrow, but not the whole fear gas. He'll just use his dark magic to mess with your mind. I could see him trying to break Sunny, and also mock her because she's not as strong as Twilight and her friends. And I could see a big fight happening. Sombra escapes barely, and I personally think this could have led into those scripts of season 2 for Make Your Mark that were already written before the axe was dropped. But it could have, I know there would have been a couple songs, and heck, at this point Spike could have come back. That's the other thing that really bugs me about them bringing Spike in one time and then Tell Your Tale, he's nowhere to be seen. Look, I understand, I kind of get why people are upset of his design, but his design actually kind of reminds me of his before in the Secret of His Success. He has a quadruped design when he breaks out of Mr. and Mrs. Cake's house. That design right there is what kind of reminds me of his his quadruped form in Make Your Mark. I guess they were doing a callback to that, I guess. I don't know. Budgetary reasons, probably more so. But I didn't mind Spike's design. I didn't really mind it. Do I think some of the dragons could use a little changes here and there to make them look a little bit more unique? Yeah. But I didn't mind them. They served their purpose. At least they weren't the same all in personality. But I could actually imagine Spike returning for the journey and maybe want to see Flurry Heart, see Cadence, how they're doing, and a little bit of a reunion and stuff like that. Now about Twilight. The whole thing. I'll be honest. From the box, there was also in my Walmart in Tunkhannock, there was a box set called the Alicorn Pack, where it had Alicorn, Twilight, and Sunny. And you had Sunny on one side, Twilight on the other. And I'm thinking, yeah, they're not just doing this for merchandise purposes. At some point, sooner or later, Twilight Sparkle is going to show up and meet the new group of ponies. Lo and behold, in the greatest gift, guess who decides to crash in? Literally, Twilight Sparkle. So I kind of called that. I didn't know Twilight was going to show up. I knew at some point she was going to show up at some point because just due to the box art. I know that sounds silly, but you're not going to put one of the most iconic G4 characters on a box set with Sunny and put them in both Alicorns in one pack just for the heck of it, just for merchandise purposes. That's stupid. Just for that, and then don't have it in the show. That's what I mean. Some toys can be misleading. Some toys are on the nose for future shows or scenes in films. So, I don't know. But if the Crystal Empire was meant to show up, and once again, those were leaks that I found out recently on Discord. So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. But, I personally believe Sombra was going to show up. Because you really can't have the Crystal Empire without him crashing the party. But, I personally think this was a wasted opportunity. Because if Twilight's alive, then surely Celestia, Luna, and Cadence, and Flurry Heart are alive. My guess is if the Crystal Empire was meant to show up, Flurry Heart and Cadence were in the Crystal Empire, while Celestia and Luna were in Skyros, back in their homeland. While Twilight was in the Star. I actually wonder how she got into the Star. We would have probably found out how that happened, but I really think we had some good they had some good ideas, and you know, I know this ain't gonna happen. Before anyone gets mad at me and says, "Oh, that ain't gonna happen, you're delusional," I'm just saying it would be. And before I say anything further, I know this ain't gonna happen. I know this, so don't start saying I'm delusional. You're hoping for too much. I know this is not probably ever gonna happen. But I'm just saying, if this was to happen, I'd be like shocked, because there have been a couple occasions where some shows have gotten canceled, but then have gotten a second chance at life. There's been a couple shows that have been on cancellation, then brought back. It's been a proven fact. I would be shocked if they announced at San Diego Comic-Con that they're trying another shot at Gen 5. I know that's not going to happen. Once again, I know it's not going to happen. So everyone, if you get mad about this, I know it's not going to happen. Already there's been talks of a Gen 4 reboot, that live-action movie, and some people are thinking it's not going to be Gen 6. It's actually going to be a Gen 4 reboot. Now, I'm going to be honest. The Gen 4 reboot that we were meant to get instead of a new generation did pique my interest. You know, Fluttershy being a unicorn, Applejack being like a Viking pony, Twilight being an earth pony, and then she becomes an alicorn. I actually did like Rainbow Dash's design with the whole golden band around her head, or mohawk, like main design. I liked all that, and I liked that actually Pinkie Pie was going to be a Pegasus. That's actually, I think, a reference to her original design and character called Surprise. So, I would have been curious about that. I would have been fine with that, but I'm actually glad with what we got. I just think it deserved better. It didn't deserve all the hate, and it deserved a chance. I'm just saying, I'd be shocked if they said at San Diego Comic-Con we're actually giving Gen 5 a chance. Or they were going to properly wrap Gen 5 up so that everyone's at peace with the answers that they give. But probably that's not going to happen. I know. Hopefully at San Diego Comic-Con we get something about the movie, casting, concept art, maybe a little teaser. Now, I'm not saying a full-on trailer, but like a little tease. Tiny tease, like a 30-second tease or something. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say in this video for today. So, till next time, I am Draco Prime 220, signing off. Good night, everyone. Stay safe.